Good morning. Friday morning. Look at that. Love seeing this every day. It's awesome. You can hear my wee dog crying behind me. What do you want, Ralph? What is it? Morning, Stephen. I hope you're well. There we go. Wee bit of Coral Inn for you, Stephen, while you're in Liverpool. Wee taste of home. Right. Beautiful morning. Absolutely stunning. Good morning, Corella. Look at that. Handsome big tree. Isn't it gorgeous? What is it? What is it? Arr, arr. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So, L this morning for loneliness. Working our way through the alphabet. Good morning, Mr. Devine. Good morning, Lynn. Hope you're well. Fine Friday morning. And it looks like it's set to be an absolute scorcher. The weather looks fantastic. So, funny with that wee backpack on. Funny. Anyway, here we are, Friday morning, talking about loneliness. So, we live in the most connected time ever. Technology, the way that we're able to communicate, we can FaceTime friends and family on the other side of the world. We can send a message almost instantly to anyone at any time, anywhere in the world. Good morning, Corella. She's saying hello to Ralph, not me. Oh, so loneliness. We live in the most connected times of known. Technology, the internet, but yet studies are showing that 1 in 4 people have a deep sense of loneliness. Now, there's a difference between feeling lonely and chronic loneliness. Chronic loneliness can be combined with anxiety and depression. And I said it yesterday, it's just absolutely fascinating when you start to, fascinating for me anyway, when you start to go through these things that you've worked with collectively for a long time, and then you start putting it down on paper, so to speak. It's so clear how interconnected and interwoven so many of the mental health issues that we have are tied together. So loneliness, the most connected times we've ever lived in, yet people are struggling with mental illness at an epidemic level. And feelings of loneliness, not belonging, are very apparent in our society. Now, loneliness or social pain is actually as harmful for our health as, say, smoking a packet of cigarettes. Also, studies have shown that loneliness can increase cancer rates to grow faster. It can make Alzheimer's increase faster. It can make physical health and us deteriorate faster. It can age us, and it's actually studies have shown that it triggers parts of the brain that would be similar as if you were wounded, as if you were hurt in an accident. So loneliness is a very debilitating yet collective experience that many of us are going through, especially in this pandemic, but over and above the pandemic. So it's a social pain. Now, this is what was interesting, was yesterday we spoke about kindness and how the brain's actually wired for kindness. Well, the brain's wired for social connection. Human beings, we're social animals, and we are wired for social connection. Now, our brains and bodies have not really changed that much in the last 30,000 years. Morning, Harvey. Lovely picture of the dog. Our brains and bodies haven't really changed that much in the last 30,000 years. But 30,000 years ago, we would have probably been born into a tribe, or rather a community, right? Where we would have been born into, stayed with, grown with, aged with, connected with, laughed with, and sat round fires with, right? Now, today, people have the ability to be able to move country, move locations, move jobs. And some people in their... Well, I'm 47. I'm back in Lanark. I've maybe lived 2 or 3 places, but I've travelled around the world. I've been away for a while. And when I was away for a while in my sort of mid to late 20s, and when I come back to Lanark, it was difficult to reconnect with people here because they'd moved along. And so many people move for jobs, they move continents, they move countries, they move cities. And they might do that multiple times throughout their life. And that makes it really hard to create connections. It makes it really difficult to create connections. Now, we've tried to soothe the social itch through FaceTime and emails and posting up pictures of our holidays on Facebook and da-da-da-da-da-da. But in actual fact, good morning, Anne. Loneliness is a government health warning, and it's a mental health pandemic that we've got. And really, the journey of that starts with us. Now, what starts off as being us feeling a little bit lonely can then very quickly escalate into chronic loneliness, and we adapt very quickly. So, do you know anyone who resists invitations, or are you somebody that's been resisting an invitation? Do you want to meet up for a coffee? Do you want to go out for a meal? Should we catch up and go for a walk? And those people that would just say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that, or, you know, I don't get paid till next Friday, and then you offer, well, that's all right, I'll pay for it, you can get the next time. Oh, you know, such and such is going on with the kids at school, and da-da-da-da-da, right? So people start off in loneliness because of their loneliness, is starting to resist invitations out to social gatherings and social events. And then all of a sudden, that starts to get noticed. And then rather than facing into it, so many people just ostracise themselves from the group and then start to disappear, and slowly they're forgotten, right? Now that's where loneliness goes, and anxiety and depression, and how all these mental health issues that we've been talking about over the last, I don't know how many days we've been doing this, feels like Groundhog Day, are also very interconnected and interwoven now. As I've said, we are social animals. We were developed, if you like, this very fine-tuned machine actually started to create networks in the brain that would start to be able to, what would you call that? Interpret would be a simple word for it. Interpret facial expressions of other individuals in our tribe and start to get a sense of how they're feeling. And that would give us a sense of how we felt. Now, I said this over the last few days as well. When we're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I definitely think he was spot on, right? But I've always wanted to turn his triangle upside down and put it on its toes, put it on its head. Yes, we need clothing, shelter, of course we do. And if any of those things were taken away from you, it would be very debilitating. But we all have the need to be seen, to be heard, and to be valued, right? And without that, we're not ticking all the boxes that it takes for us to be an effective member in our families and communities. Now, if we're suffering from chronic loneliness, and people have suffered from chronic loneliness, let me tangent again, Ross tangent ahead. Now, if, as I've said, and I've said this continually throughout these talks that I've been doing, that I've been working as a counsellor and coach since 2008, so that's what, 10, 12 years or something like that, right? So I've seen a few clients, and at the heart of the majority of clients, their desire is to be free of suffering and pain, free of hardships. They want peace in their life. They want more happiness. And they want more connection. Okay? So, started going off on a tangent there, but that seems to be a thread that most people want. They want a connection. Now, when you look at somebody that's been experiencing chronic loneliness, and you're looking at it from a brain-based perspective, there is actually evidence that would show us that those abilities for us to look at a face and see what that face, that neutral face or that expression, which would not normally go unnoticed, the lonely person's brain perceives that face as threatening and hostile. And then what one starts to do is one starts to question oneself in their loneliness. What have I done to make that person hostile? When in actual fact, it's not a hostile face at all. It's simply the brain is interpreting it as such because of the debilitating feelings of loneliness that's inside us. Okay? Now, as I've said, we're social creatures. And I got interested a few years ago on blue zones. And blue zones in the world, for those of you that are not familiar with them, are countries in the world where people have the largest life expectancy, live longest, and are the happiest. Right? So there's a few of them. A place in Japan, Costa Rica, Sardinia. Anyway, you Google that for yourself, right? If you're interested. Blue zones. So what makes blue zones, what makes the people in the blue zones, well, what makes people in blue zones live longer than here? Well, they've looked at diet, obviously, and people there pray together, they walk together, yes, they do things together, but what they do more than any other place in the world is they value community connection, right? So countries that have a high sense of community connection, right, live longest, happiest, and healthiest lives. People that are suffering from chronic loneliness can and do reduce their life expectancy. We have a public health crisis totally on our hands. Today, we're looking at things that personally I don't think is as important, but as I've said, addiction, that's what I like working with. Or rather, I don't, I just seem to do so much of it. Addiction, loneliness, anxiety, depression, it's through the roof, yet we live in a world with supposedly the most sanitised world we've ever had, where food is readily available to most in the first world, where hygiene and health authorities and health organisations are the most equipped and technologically advanced that they've ever been. If I were to fall here in this path down that gorge and break my leg, I have the ability to get a mobile phone, phone somebody and be rescued within moments. But we're living in a world where people are isolated, where people are lonely, where there's a lack of connection, where people don't feel as if they belong. Now, what I've also noticed and I've found interesting, and I'm going off on a wee bit of tangents here, but so many places that you go into now have got these perspex sheets down between them. So there's like a perspex sheet between, so like me and an individual or me and a counter, right? And I remembered a time in my life where I actually felt as if there was that perspex sheet between me and my social group. There was times in my life where I was sitting in company and I'm watching people's lips moving, but I can't really hear what they're saying. And it's almost like I want to fit in, but I can't fit in. And it feels as if there's this kind of perspex sheet between me and my external reality. And I guess I started thinking about that a little bit more yesterday. And why is that? Why has that came to fruition? And it's not to blame my childhood, and I'm not blaming it at all. Take accountability for it. But, you know, I was brought up down a half-mile track. I never had any neighbours. It was almost like a farm-type cottage I was brought up in. And there was only my gran and my grandfather's house at the front of it. I didn't have anybody in the estate, or the scheme, as you want to call it, that you could just chap their door and go and socially interact with. So being socially awkward is one of my programmes that you'd be looking at Ross and going, oh, he's no socially awkward. No, socially awkward is one of my programmes that negatively what I did was I overcompensated. And so rather than dealing with being socially awkward and that little feeling, I overly compensated for that. So I was absolutely starving. Like I had malnutrition for connection when I was younger. And I guess that's what drove me into drugs and alcohol, because when I started smoking dope, there was a few people that I ran about with that just did not find that amusing. And rightly so. They stopped talking to me. They stopped hanging around with me. And that was cool. We were on a different path, right? But what you find yourself, you start to do is you start to gravitate towards other people that are into the same behaviour as you, that gives you the illusion of connection, yet you're all sitting stoned, or drunk, or high, or whatever, right? And in actual fact, there is no meaning in those relationships, and very, very quickly, you're, in a sense, getting it, but your brain realises very quickly that you're socially starved. Now, Harvey, love that community connection, right? So, loneliness. Keep getting sidetracked here. Now, the difference, you know, dogs, there's my wee guy up there, right? My wee guy, he gets his needs met from outside sources, if you like, right? Human beings, as I keep banging in, we are social animals. We are social animals and we crave connection, right? At the root, I don't know if you read Johnny Harry's stuff, Johanna Harry, about addiction. Addiction, the opposite of addiction is connection. Now, if you look at that as an analogy, disconnection, it could be at the root cause of so many mental illness and experiences that we've had, the lack of connection or the feeling that we don't belong, right? So when you don't feel that you belong in this world, or you don't have a place in this world, and I'm jumping about a little bit here, but remember back to, I think it was Sunday, imposter syndrome, or one day last week I did an IJKL. Well, it was 4 days ago, so beginning of this week. So, subjective and objective experiences. If you see yourself from the inside out, but you see me from the outside in, so you have a subjective experience of yourself. Now, loneliness is a subjective experience. So if you were listening to the imposter syndrome thing and you're like, wow, that's really whacks a lot of boxes for me, right? I feel like a fraud, I feel like a failure all the time, right? And you see this person that's larger than life, that's out doing lots of stuff, you're watching them on Facebook, and they're always at social events, and they're always at social gatherings, and they've got all their holiday pictures are going up all the time, right? And you start to compare yourself to them, right? You compare yourself to an illusion, because people only put up, it's like gamblers, they only ever tell you about their wins, they never tell you about their losses. So, and you start comparing yourself to that, and you start to feel as if you've got something even more wrong with you, right? If you've accepted that you're an imposter, and I'm not expecting you to put it up on Facebook the day, oh, I've just realised I'm an imposter, I'm a fraud, and everything that I say, I feel as if I'm not good enough. I'm not expecting you to do that, but if you've aligned with that at some level, what if the people that, like you and I, that experience loneliness, right? Nobody's posting that on Facebook, are they? Well, some people are, but they're doing it in order to get attention, if you like, rather than actually, okay, I'm lonely, how am I going to deal with that? right, I'm lonely, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to start a ritual where every night or every Monday night, for me it was a Thursday night, I remember I used to meet up with some friends and family on a Thursday night in Glasgow for a curry. That was a sort of ritual. And, you know, the people all there, we all liked and appreciated one another. We used to shoot the breeze. And I guess through lockdown I've been thinking about this a bit as well. My grandfather was a great guy, and he always appeared happy. He was always laughing and joking, but do I really know how happy he actually was? But at the top of Braidwood, where I was brought up, there was like a bench, and him and a few of the old timers, it was something out of Last of the Summer Wind, they used to all get together, and he used to call it the summer seat. Maybe that was because you only sat in it in the summer, but it was a bench, and they used to get together, and he used to sit up there and, you know, time away for his wife and what have you. And I mean, I can't remember the content of their conversation. I remember some of the names and faces of those old Braidwood boys that used to sit about up there, old Mr. Train and old Willie Smith and old Cassidy. God, and they used to have such banter, and they would connect, and they would do that ritualistically every night at 7 o'clock, say. And I used to go up there on my BMX and play about and listen to them laughing and joking, and it just brought such joy to that young boy's heart. It was awesome. So people are not connecting, they're connecting less, and if they are, they're also in a hurry. It's like my favourite pizzeria restaurant in Glasgow. You sit in it and it's bang, 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 and it's almost as fast as they can get you out the door, or you feel that you have to get out the door fast. Whereas when you look at these blue zone countries, or you go for a meal on the continent, or, you know, if we ever get to travel abroad again, they eat a lot later on, don't they? You go out at 8, 9 o'clock and you eat into the early hours of the morning, eating, drinking, laughing, but not excessively. There are no tanking bottles of Buckfast Eldorado in 2020. You know, they've got a light, very low-grade alcohol wine, and it's small sips, and it's social, it's communal, right? Why are these people in these countries living longer than we are? Why? Because the stress that's created, back to that word stress again, the number one killer in our society is stress, and it just doesn't come from folk think, oh, stress, it's because you've got a lot of deadlines at work, or it's because you're busy at work. Bum. Absolute bum. Nonsense. Right? Oh, I'm having to commute far. I'm stressed out. No, our body is stressed because of a lack of nutritional value. Our soil has been depleted. The food that we're eating doesn't contain the appropriate or effective nutrients any longer. We're stressed by our lack of connection. We're in a social pain. People are experiencing social pain because of the lack of connection that's in their life. Yet they've got connection at their fingertips, and they sit there like, oh God, what was that guy's name in bloody James Bond that used to sit there and just organise everything, right? How many times have I reached out to people, you want to meet up for a coffee, you want to go and do this? And at first I used to think, oh, it's because they don't want to meet up with me. Absolutely not. It's because they're lonely. They're sitting in there behind their little computer screen, and that's actually works for so many people, not necessarily introverted people, because introverted people can connect. It touches people that are deeply lonely and struggle with social connection. Yet they put this face onto the world, and all they ever do is post on Facebook and sit behind their computer screen, firing emails out at people, telling them what to do and all the rest of it. But when you ask them to go for a coffee, you never get a reply. You ask them to go for a walk, they never come. And that's got so much more less to do with you than it has to do with them. Yet it's difficult for us not to internalise that and see that we're the problem. So, loneliness. Back to everything that we're talking about, they're so connected. And for me, it's the fellowship. Step 1 of the 12-step process, acceptance. Acceptance is key. What are some of the ways round it? What are some of the ways to get through loneliness? So, well, I'm for the middle between Glasgow and Edinburgh. They're both equal distance, but I would say I'm probably more a West Coaster, right? And we are known for being chatty. And we blethers, we're called, worldwide, right? We just blether a lot. So somebody stops in the street and asks me for directions, and they've got a Canadian accent or whatever. And it's like, oh, cool, well, this is the way you go. Probably end up taking them there. Right, looks like a scene out of Dexter. Not at all. We're not all bad in Scotland. And ask them, where are you from? Why are you here? Where are you travelling? Why are you travelling? What's going on in your home country? What's going on with you worldwide right now? And I think that's a fantastic way to pull us out of loneliness, is start to get a sense and experience of what other people's narratives and what other people's worlds are like. Because loneliness, we're an L, tomorrow's going to be M, the next day's going to be N, which is narcissism, right? Now, narcissistic personality disorder. See, when you're trapped in anxiety, people aren't going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm controversial and don't give two toots. When you're depressed, all you think about is the depression. When you're anxious, all you think about is the anxiety. And see, when you're lonely, all you think about is the loneliness, the pain, the social pain. So it's back to that mosquito bite that I keep talking about, and redirection of attention. Redirection of attention, right? So narcissism, it's all about me, right? When you're depressed, lonely and anxious, it can look like narcissism because you can't get yourself out of your own head. You cannot think about anything other than the pain that you are experiencing, right? Now, that's not narcissistic personality disorder. That's depression, where you're ruminating, where you become self-absorbed in your own pain because you can't think about anything else. It's impossible, right? So somebody turns around and tells you you're narcissistic. Maybe you're not narcissistic. Maybe you're just really anxious or depressed or fucking really lonely, right? Maybe you're just really lonely. And it's very, very difficult when you've got a mosquito bite and it's itchy to not scratch it. It's almost like Chinese tortures trying not to scratch it. But as I've said before, you're on holiday. Don't get a lot of mosquito bites in Scotland, but you're on holiday and you get a mosquito bite. You've had one. It's itchy, scratching like crazy. But then you go and get a shower and you go and get your shirt and your 3/4 length Bermuda shorts on that you wouldn't be seen dead in anywhere else but this foreign place. And you go and you have a bite to eat with your friends and you're chatting about their day and you're talking about this, that and the next thing. You totally forget about the mosquito bite. Then you come back to your room, you're all alone again. What do you start doing? Scratching the life out your arm. You wake up in the morning, you've got a hole in it. So there are lots of ways through this. However, for me, in my approach, the way that I look at a lot of mental health addiction challenges that we have, step 1 and step 12 of the 12-step process. First thing you've got to do is identify with it, and it's not putting up on Facebook, I'm having a really bad day. Oh God, the melodrama. I'm so lonely, reach out. I've got mental health issues. This is what it's like living inside my head all the time. Right? That's getting you a lot of attention. Right? So, take personal responsibility and... Good morning, sir. Yeah. He's flying. Look. Whew. That guy was really whizzing on that bike there. He was having a lot of fun. Okay, so it's about pulling it back. It's about pulling back the experience to the end of it. Well, that could become challenging as well, and I could talk on this forever. But look at where loneliness really started. When I started to say there, pull it back to the individual, well, no, that's probably when loneliness started, right? Like in the Renaissance, when those young white Protestants started looking at the Industrial Revolution and the Renaissance and pulling it back to cities rather than communities. But that's a whole other conversation for a whole other time. And, you know, dealing with loneliness, acceptance of loneliness. And then one of the ways through it is step 12 of the 12-step process. Just keep giving yourself to other people, because other people could also be, if you were in agreement with the imposter syndrome, they may also be experiencing loneliness. So here's a challenge for you, right? No matter where you are in your mental health today, no matter where you are, whether it be depression, loneliness, isolation, or addiction, right? Put your baggage to one side just for a moment and see today at some point, do roulette with your mobile phone. Just swing your call list. Just completely swing your call list and see if it stops at a name, right? Or look through your friends on Facebook and scroll through and reach out and ask somebody how they're doing, right? Because somebody else undoubtedly is in equal or as much pain or more pain or suffering than you are. And if you can direct and redirect your attention into giving to somebody else rather than sitting there taking from your environment, absorbing the world like a black dark cloak, sucking every bit of light out of it, right? You're so depressed you're walking down the street, right, and the flowers are wilting round about you. See if that's where you're at. Professional help, phone somebody, get the help you need. We are living in a pandemic of mental health issues. Loneliness, depression, isolation are through the roof. It's catastrophic, and the journey of it starts here, right? We need to get back to a community mindset, because this individualised way of thinking is not serving our planet any longer. Cities and pulling everybody into cities so that we're all isolated. Look at London, man. Wow. Crazy. Right? So, could talk about this stuff all day. I'm not going to. Struggling to figure out what to talk about tomorrow for M. I know N, narcissistic personality disorder, but MD's got any ideas about M, throw a brother a lifeline and let me know, and we'll think about that. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks very much for tuning in and watching. I appreciate your shares, your cares. It all works. We're all in this together. We really are. And nobody's any better or any worse. As soon as we get that through our head as well, that superiority, inferiority complex that we're all carrying about with us, the better. We're all here to help one another. Before we can really realise that, we've got to let go of the judgments that we have around ourselves and start to be able to see each other through a more kind and connected and compassionate way of being. I wish you all the best. Have a great day.